Alright guys, so we're back with another video. Welcome back. It looks like I had plenty of time after I finished that quick battery install and clutch cable bracket from Miko installed last video. So I definitely had more time to do a couple more upgrades. So we're going to talk about what we're going to do today. As you saw the title of the video, we're talking about wheel studs. So a deal car had mentioned to me that he did want to put extended wheel studs on his P10, which is something that I'm going to go ahead and do to my P10 as well, just to go ahead and run spacers if I need to safely, right? Because the stock studs are really short when you put on any spacers. So anything over like 3 to 5 mil, yeah, you're risking it. So we're going to talk about wheel studs today, so let's get to it. Alright guys, so here are the studs right here. These are the stock P10 studs. As you can see, they're pretty short. They're not very long at all. What ends up happening is this lower amount where the knurl is, it gets taken up by the hub itself, then a portion by the rotor, and then the portion by the wheel, and then really you only get left with not many threads when you're actually having contact with the lug nut itself. So that's no bueno. So this is what we're gonna run. Much longer. Look at that. You know, size doesn't always matter, but in this case, this guy's gonna win. So it's about, I would say, I mean, I don't want to get technical about it. I want to say at least half an inch longer. I didn't want to run too long of a stud because this is still a street car. A deal car didn't really need that much of a long stud. These are 60 millimeters. These are made by Circuit Sports. And the one thing you guys want to go ahead and know is that on the P10, you're going to run into a little bit of an issue because you can't just run the same stud all the way around, right? Like a regular car. B13, you run the same knurl all the way around. It's fine. You can just buy 8 for the rear, 8 for the front, all the same length, all the same knurl size, no problem, because the stud knurls are all the same. On the P10, it's a little bit different. On the P10, you're gonna have to buy 2 different sizes. So let's talk about that. So these right here, this one right here is actually a front one, and this one right here is 14.25 millimeters knurl. The P10 uses 14.25. I believe it's actually 14.3 to be exact, but again, I could be off. But again, these are going to be the front, 14.25 Circuit Sports, and these are actually, here we go, let me show you guys the tag, see if I can get it up close to the camera. For the rear, you're actually going to run these. And these are 12.85 millimeter knurl, and that's because the P10 is pretty strange. Again, it runs a different size knurl for the front and the rear, but this is what you're going to run in the rear, and it doesn't take that much, right, to figure this out. All I did was really just go to Rock Auto real quick, find the studs that they have, look at the specs, and then find out, oh, okay, so that means it uses standard Nissan ones in the front and then like S13 front in the rear, or vice versa, whatever it is. So these are going to go on, and then we're going to go ahead and show you how you get those on the car. You don't really have to take the brakes off or anything like that. It's actually pretty easy. A couple swings of the hammer and one fancy tool if you really want to, but I've done this many a times with the wrong tools and it works out every time. So let's go ahead and check that out. Here it is. The wheel is off. I always forget how light these freaking T37s are sometimes. But again, the wheel's off. I'm not going to go ahead and take the brake system off. I'm not going to go ahead and take the calipers off. I'm just going to turn it. There's actually a little gap back here where I can reach through and get the stud itself out. So I'm just going to turn it that way. I'm going to try to do this one-handed for you guys. Trusty sledge, line it up, boom, and that is out. There it is. Now don't be like me, don't miss this and hit the rotor a little bit. Not a good idea. Hit it center, usually takes 2 blows and it's out of there. I'm not too worried about these rotors. Well, for future reference, I'm just gonna tell you I'm not too worried about these rotors because something special is gonna be going on here pretty soon. And if you had any questions about this brake kit, this is larger than the stock P10 kit. This is a P11 actually, brake caliper that I had powder coated, and the P11 rotor, which is a much larger rotor with crown brake lines. Something special is coming for this. It's actually going to be the first kit ever made for the P10 and what we got. So it's going to be pretty cool. I can't wait to show you guys that. But first, let's keep going. I'm going to keep turning these and knocking these out, and I'll show you exactly what needs to happen next. So being that these are a little bit longer than than the standard ones. Well, not a little bit, actually, quite a bit longer. It's going to be a little bit harder to get it through a curved part of the knuckle in the back. So what I usually do is I'll take something like this. I'll take a punch, and actually, this is actually pretty thick, and I'll place it onto the back of the stud itself, and then I'll take my hammer, and then I'll go ahead and hammer it through. So it's pretty much lined up in the hole now. So again, what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna put this on the rear end of it, sledge it through, and it'll pop right through. It's just the round part of the rear that actually gets caught on the knuckle itself, and it just needs a little persuasion to get through. So let me go ahead and do that next. I'm gonna pop out the rest, and we're gonna go ahead and get that going. So this is what I'm going to use to go ahead and pull them through. It's actually a neat little tool made by Lyle. Again, I've used the wrong tool to use this before, and it still works out the same. I've used a wrench basically to go ahead and cradle the stud, and then use the lug nut to pull it through. I've used I've used a socket to do it. I've used many things, but this actually works out pretty well. All you do is really just put it over the stud itself. Put the lug nut on. I'm using these crappy aluminum lug nuts. Don't use aluminum lug nuts, guys. I use these crappy aluminum lug nuts to beat up on when I do this. So it goes on like that. I just tighten it down by hand, and then what I go ahead and do is I won't pull it all the way through by hand, of course. Got my trusty impact right here. I got my trusty impact socket right here. And then, make it tight then. That's it. It is through. Alright guys, so here we are in the rear. The rear is going to be a little bit of a different story, especially because there's a dust shield back here. There's really no access for me to get my hand in there and cheat like I did in the front, because it has no heat shield in the front, or dust shield in the front. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is definitely going to have to go ahead and take this caliper off, take the rotor off, and do it the long way. It sucks, but it is what it is. The front went by real quick, no more than a couple of minutes. So I'll go ahead and do this rear. I'll take this apart and I'll show you guys what we're gonna do next. Now that we've got the rotor off, you guys can see I have plenty of space back here so that when I knock it out, I don't have to like catch it or anything like that. Again, it's just like I said, 2 knocks of it usually gets it out. So we're gonna go ahead and get the longer Circuit Sport ones and get those in. All right, so here are the Circuit Sport rears. Again, you can tell the length. Hope you guys can see that there. I know it's a little dark down here, but. Whoa. Huh. Interesting. Very interesting, guys. So it looks like there's a variation based on the P10 because this doesn't fit as it's supposed to. It's too small. So let me go ahead. These are the front ones. Alright, let's go do some measurements. Alright, so that's pretty interesting, guys. What I went ahead and found out is I took my trusty pair of calipers here, measured it out. It looks like it says here, this is about 14.35 millimeters wide on the knurl of the stock ones. This is a 95, 96 P10. And then this is 14.27. And then again, these other ones that I bought were 12.75, so these are gonna be way too small. So going back to the stock one, 14.35, going with the fronts, 14.35. So I guess this is gonna use the same size fronts all the way around, so there might be a variation per P10. So let's go ahead and pull this one through. Put that there. put a lug nut on this guy. Looks like I was duped on this one, fellas, so it may vary per P10. Your P10 may be different than this P10. I'm not sure what year it may have changed. It's very interesting. Alright fellas, so it's been a while. Unfortunately I couldn't get any video of the extended studs on a deal car's car, which I figured out. I did go to Circuit Sports, got the correct diameter or knurl studs that car required, and that worked out great. But I just wanted to give you a quick point. I remember I was mentioning to you guys that certain P10s, or at least I thought, there was a different size front and rear. One side is going to be P10, one size is going to be like S13, S14, I believe. So my P10, which I did do the extended studs on because I did put a 10 mil spacer all the way around so I can fill up the wheel gap a little bit more on the T16s, did require a different length or different knurl, excuse me, in the front and in the rear. It actually required the thinner diameter or smaller diameter rears, while it was using the thicker diameter fronts for the knurl. So this car does require two knurl sizes. I'm not sure if it's because this is not an actual touring model. You guys can look it up, Google it. I'm sure G20.net has plenty of info on it. I looked it up, I researched it as much as possible. I don't know where it differentiates, if it's part of a year or a model thing, but for sure this car definitely took two different sizes. So I just want to show you guys that I did use closed end lug nuts. These are Muteki SR48 if I'm not mistaken. I do apologize about the wind noise, but the reason I use closed end as opposed to open end is obviously because these lug nuts are not extended to the point to where you would need to run open end lug nuts. If you can avoid open-ended lug nuts and your studs aren't so long that you don't require them, don't. My P13 has open-ended lug nuts, but these studs are much longer. It's the longest one's 2J cells. So these required closed end, and even without the spacer I can use the closed end lug nut. And what I like about these lug nuts is they're actually threaded pretty much almost all the way to the end. I'm glad I was able to go ahead and give you guys that information on the studs. I've seen people ask about it, but it's there. I might try to see if I have any links for the G20.net post where they have that information. But again, Circuit Sports is where you can get these extended studs if that's something that you want to do. Yes, the P10 still lives. I just wanted to show you guys that. I do drive it. This is actually the first time I've driven it in maybe like 6 months. It has sat quite a bit since the TSX gets so much of my daily driving duties. But maybe I should go ahead and refresh this thing, right? Maybe I should do that. If you guys want to see more P10 content on this thing, leave the comments down below. Maybe it'll entice me into doing a little more P10 content on this thing. But if you do like videos like this, please like and subscribe. If you, again, I don't post as often as I used to. Work doesn't permit for me to do that. So go ahead and turn those notifications on, and it will let you know when I do post videos. It's really easy to go ahead and miss these things. So thanks, guys. See you next video. I think next video is gonna be a track day. These are all out of sequence as I'm editing them super late, but thank you guys for your patience. See you on the next one. If you have any questions, you're welcome to leave a question down in the comments below, or email us at blipshipapex@gmail.com. I'll reply. One of the guys will reply. I'll reply. Peace.